Alrighty. And another one bites the dust. Another one down. Santorum, you're out! You're out of here. Out! He was only in there to scare the Democrats anyway. He was only in there to make sure that the left-right paradigm, red-blue paradigm stayed intact. And I know so many people like, that's what Republicans are like. Republicans are like Rick Santorum. I'll never vote for Ron Paul or anybody else that's ever a Republican because they all want to take away my birth control and they want to make sure that my daughter's forced to have a baby and never can have an abortion, and they hate gays and they're bigoted and they're racist and they're old and white and we don't like Republicans. And Rick Santorum was the poster boy for that. So I know lots of people that paint Ron Paul with the same brush. Well, Ron Paul and Rick Santorum are night and day. One guy's constitutional individual liberty, believes in small government, and the government should leave you the hell alone unless you're doing something wrong. Other than that, anyway, peace and prosperity, and Ron Paul is talking about, the new paradigm. The new paradigm is peace and individual liberty. The old paradigm is war and tyranny. And any of you guys that don't get that by now, I just feel sorry for you. Because it's ridiculous. You guys still supporting Obama. Really, you still support Obama, and he's trying to get a war going on in Iran because his masters tell him to. It's pathetic. It's just pathetic. You guys pay lip service to peace. You pay lip service to the American ideals where we don't torture and we're supposed to be the good guys, and then you support guys like Romney and Obama. Shame on you. Anyway, but it's great. It's the greatest thing. The first link you'll find down there is the nicely produced with music and the voice of the announcer that tells you that this is happening now, and it's not on TV, which is absolutely true. It's not on TV. The revolution will not be televised, my friends. Absolutely not. 8,000 people show up for Ron Paul, and what happens? Nothing. Not a whisper. In fact, they have the gall. And see, this is great. We're living history because that will go down in history. That while he is drawing crowds of 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people, they have the gall to write, where is Ron Paul? Where on earth is Ron Paul? Where did Ron Paul go? Well, he's out there talking to thousands of people. Where's the mainstream media? See, and this is the beautiful thing because people can see they're absolutely not going to cover the vote fraud. They're not covering the fact that 7,000 or 8,000 people show up for Ron Paul. I mean, heck, 5,200 people show up for Ron Paul. Those were the old records. 3,000 people show up, that's no big deal. Romney can't get 1,000 people in a room. He can't get 1,000 people to show up for him. Most places he goes, it's a few hundred at most. Same thing with Rick Santorum, and Gingrich is even less than that. Sometimes nobody shows up for that guy. All right, so what does this mean? What does it mean? Well, I'll tell you what I think it means. What it means is that people are starting to wake up in droves and turn off the TV. That we're seeing now reports from all over the place that CNN and the contains no news stations on the cable networks and all over your network television also, their viewership is declining like crazy. Their viewership is dropping. Why would their viewership be dropping? Well, because people are getting tired of being lied to. They're tired of getting half the news or none of the news. So don't feel bad, guys. Ron Paul is being blacked out, but here's a whole bunch of other things that are being blacked out, which is the theme for this video. It's like, look at all of the news you don't get if you watch TV. British court throws out conviction of autism vaccine MD. Andrew Wakefield's co-author completely exonerated. I'll just put one link, but there are multiple links. And the court basically was pretty harsh, actually, about the nonsense that this was just a smear campaign. John Walker Smith won his appeal. He has been reinstated. What does it say down here? It is quite obvious that James Murdoch and Brian Deere and GlaxoSmithKline orchestrated the smear attack on Dr. Andrew Wakefield, and also, this guy or anybody associated with Wakefield, and John Walker Smith has been completely exonerated. Missed that on the news. They did a full court press. I got Yahoo News on that autism and vaccines and this fraud, and they anyway, read the article. Let's see, here's another piece of information you may have missed. Russia is massing troops on Iran's northern border and waiting for a Western attack. The Russians have said it in every way, shape, and form they could possibly I mean, could they make it clear? If you attack Iran, we consider it attack on us. Could they make it more clear? If you attack Iran, you will be attacking Russia. Yes. That's my piss poor Russian impression. Vladimir. Anyway. So, the Chinese. Don't even try to get a Chinese accent out of me. Anyway, is if you know, they're building up their navy, and they have basically said the same thing, is that we don't, and the Indians, and I mean, what do we have Obama doing? Obama increasing the sanctions and, you know, putting in embargoes and doing everything they can, that basically acts of war against Iran right now. And India, Russia, China all saying no, and they're trading with them and picking up the slack, and all it's doing is causing grief in Europe. And have you noticed gas prices lately? Anybody? That's because the dollar is going down, so commodities are going up in value. They try to blame Iran, but it's the Federal Reserve note is worth butt kiss. Let's see here. How about Obama White House staffer still refuse? Wait a minute. Oh, the Obama White House is still refusing a former staffer to testify about Fast and Furious. There was a great story. Remember them trying to tell you that guns were too easy to get, and we needed to, you know, to curtail the Second Amendment because those because those Mexican, maybe the Russians, they probably said Russians too, but the Mexican drug cartels were getting guns too easily, and we were selling. Who was selling it to them? And some of these gun dealers knew that these guys were, and saying, no, I don't want to sell, and the government basically forced them to sell it because they were going to have this stupid campaign where they were going to track the guns. And remember that? Hillary Clinton and Obama going on and on about that, and it turns out that those gun sales were being made under the auspices of the United States government. Damn it. Anyway, okay, so here's another 19 stories that the talking heads on television are being strangely quiet about. I'm just going to pick out a few of them. Fukushima. Oh, there's radiation. Bad news, just bad news. How about the IRS trying to tell you that, well, not the IRS, the Senate trying to tell you that if you have back taxes, you can't travel. They'll pull your passport. Now, here's something a couple of things you need to know about the IRS, and you should do this for yourself. Do not take my word for it or anybody else's word for it on there, because there is all kinds of disinfo out there where they try to get you to not pay your taxes, and then you wind up paying a lot more in penalties and interest, because you'll finally end up throwing in the towel and paying your taxes, because they will be merciless with you if you don't know the law. But a couple things you might ask: where's your creation statute? Why don't the words United States appear on the letterhead of the IRS? And where is your creation statute? Now, you can ask any other government agency, FDA, United States, right, Food and Drug Administration, United States Securities and Exchange Commission, the United States Veterans Administration, the United States, name it, Environmental Protection Agency, which was created by Richard Nixon in 1974. Why do I know that? Because I sent a few letters asking for the creation statute for the IRS. Now, if they don't have a creation statute, in other words, they're not created by Congress or the President or somebody officially, they have no authority in the counties of the United States. Think about that. Now, and then take it the next step is what taxes it issue? And then, okay, so where's the lien? A lot of times they give a county recorder a notice of lien, and the county recorder will convert that notice of lien into an actual lien, even though there is no judgment, even though the lien has not been perfected. And if you have a lien like that, where the IRS basically just made up some numbers and put it in and put a lien against you, trying to intimidate you, or so forth, $50,000 or more, they pull your passport. What do you think about that? Doesn't seem to be covered in the news. Because, again, ask for the notice of lien, and you'll find, or excuse me, ask for the actual lien, a judgment, a court. Like, they'll file liens against people where they've never even been to court. Try to go with a piece of paper that says XYZ owes me money into any bank or any other institution, and see if they'll pay you without a judgment, without a court order, and they'll laugh at you. The IRS, on the other hand, just a notice, and most banks will roll over. However, they've been losing a few of those. Let's see. That was number 9 on the list. How about the Federal Reserve monetizing U.S. debt? This is going to end so badly, I don't have English words to explain to you how badly this is going to end. It ends horribly every single time, and this time is not different. Let's see here. Giant sinkholes. Let's see. increases in earthquakes, let's see here, on and on. There's all this stuff that this guy finds interesting that the mainstream media is quiet about. Obama signs disturbing executive order. Most Ron Paul people know about that. The NDRP, basically all your stuff is ours. And Snopes and all these other people, they say, oh, it's no big deal. Right? The mainstream media tells me, it's no big deal. Here's the big deal. Go in there and check the wording. The wording has changed. Now, it doesn't have to be under national emergency in cases of war or emergency. It could be a financial crisis. It could be no emergency at all. It could be anything they damn well please. All your stuff is theirs. They can confiscate. The government now has power to take your stuff under executive order. Ron Paul talking about repealing executive orders. Okay, so get out there and vote for Ron Paul now that, and work for Ron Paul, and, you know, agitate the delegates for Ron Paul. Now that Santorum has dropped out, there's a lot of delegates up for grabs, and those delegates, Romney's gonna try and snap them up, or they're gonna try and give them to Romney without having any say. As you can see, there's a story down there about North Dakota and their screwed up ballot and the way they did it, just basically saying, hey, you're not on the committee, so we chose the delegates for you, right? You went to a delegate to go to the convention to choose the delegates that are going to go to the convention, you know, at your state, and no, you're not choosing. We chose for you, and here, you get to vote on our choice, right? Here, we got them all picked out for you. They used to do this in courts of law also with the IRS, where they would be, hey, we got the jury all picked out, let's go. And no, the defense has a right to make sure that the witnesses are not. Anyway, but the idea is that Santorum is out. Gingrich has no chance. It's down between Romney and Ron Paul. And all you guys trying to talk about how Ron Paul needs to run third party, maybe, but not until after the convention. Let's not put the cart in front of the horse. You put the horse in front of the cart. We haven't even got to the convention yet. He needs to be in there to the very end on all the ballots on 50 states. Ron Paul is the only one in all the ballots in all the counties in all the states in the union. That would be Ron Paul, not Santorum, not Gingrich. Not even Romney made it to every single ballot. Now, that should tell you something about his organization. Now, and how we can probably organize to do third party if needed. But maybe we won't need to. Maybe we'll pull this thing out down there in Florida. You know, there's always hope, right? Mr. Hopey Changey Pants and his it just makes me laugh. They gave him a Peace Prize. Anyway, and his Peace Prize of death always tells you that there's hope. So remain hopeful that, you know, many strange things can happen in politics between now and the time of this convention. And a lot of those people, we could have a brokered convention. A lot of those guys can flip. A lot of those guys that were for Santorum are not going to be for Romney. I mean, thinking that a lot of those Santorum supporters really were vehemently against Romney. So who's their next choice? Gingrich or Ron Paul? I know I talked to a few Santorum supporters in person here on Maui, and every single one of them was, if it wasn't Santorum, it would have been Ron Paul. But since Santorum was running, and somehow the third most corrupt congressman in the history of Congress was a better choice than the guy that supports the Constitution, they were voting for Santorum. Don't ask me. Okay, so anyway, the point being is that a lot of those guys are going to roll for Ron Paul, not for Santorum, and certainly not for Gingrich. And Gingrich is going to drop out anyway. He's in a worse position than Santorum, and I mean, right? So the de facto guy, the guy that they're trying to choose for you, and we know for a fact that there's been quite a bit of vote fraud going on. And again, this is the most beautiful thing. All these Ron Paul people, huge numbers of Ron Paul people in every state, seeing that the mainstream media is BS, and that the selection process is exactly a selection process. They try to make it look like you're involved. They try to make it look like the straw polls count and that the delegates count. But when it comes down to it, the old boy network chooses for you. Now, Ron Paul is in there to change this game. But while we still have voting machines that are rigged, 100% rigged, the easy hack 100s are how you vote, and we don't have paper ballots, you don't get your country back. Until I can take a box cutter on an airplane again, you ain't got your country back, right? I mean, while you're still taking your shoes off and getting strip searched for, you can get strip searched for a misdemeanor now. You can get stripped. If they take you in and they got to put you in a holding cell, if they feel like strip searching you, there ain't nothing you can do about it because the Supreme Court says that's okay. Watch that video. The guy is mildly upset about it. What are you guys going to do? What are you guys going to do? And we got a Supreme Court now that tells us that they're unable to tell that the Obamacare is unconstitutional. That's how far we've fallen, guys. We got so much work to do. This thing ain't over when the even when the fat lady sings, it's still not over. When this election is just the beginning. People are waking up in droves. Get out there and work for Ron Paul. All right, Ron Paul, 2012.